Hi everyone, welcome back to a new post today. And all curtains down on the 18th G20 summit. So there was an important outcome document called the Delhi Declaration that was adopted unanimously by all the countries present and invited to the G20 summit in our very own capital of India. Let's look what are the important mentions that have been made in the New Delhi Declaration and some two new outcomes at the G20 summit for India. One of the achievements for India at the 18th G20 summit, where India gave over the chairmanship to the G20 to Brazil now for next year. So the 18th G20 summit was successfully concluded in New Delhi and India handed over the presidency to Brazil. In the closing ceremony, Prime Minister Narendra Modi handed over the ceremonial gavel to President of Brazil, that is Lula Inácio da Silva. And in the significant victory for the G20 presidency of India, the member nations have now unanimously adopted a New Delhi's Leaders' Declaration. So India's image in the voice of the global south reflects a very big achievement for this New Delhi Declaration. Let's have a quick review of what are the important points in this. What does the declaration actually speak about? So this 37-page long declaration shows that there was unanimity among the leaders who adopted this G20 declaration called as the New Delhi Declaration of the 18th G20 summit. And it called on the member nations to urgently accelerate their actions to address development, climate change challenges, promote a lifestyle for sustainable development, which is a new addition in India's very own intended nationally determined contributions, and to conserve biodiversity, forests and ocean. It advocates scaling up finances from all the sources for accelerating the progress on the Sustainable Development Goals 2020, because we are just 7 years away to achieving the SDGs. It recognizes importance of WTO's Aid for Trade initiative to enable the developing countries to effectively participate in the global trade. Strengthening global health and implementing the One Health approach is a very key aspect of essential health services and health systems to better them to pre-pandemic levels, ideally within the next 2 to 3 years. And this is what the declaration speaks briefly about health. Ending plastic pollution as one of the most important mentions in the declaration. Financing cities of tomorrow got a special mention in the declaration, which emphasized the need for enhanced mobilization of finances and efficient use of existing resources in the efforts to make the cities more inclusive, resilient and sustainable. Artificial intelligence got a mention in the declaration, which says to promote AI for achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. Women-led development was one of the core issues of discussion, and the declaration says that the members will promote women inclusion into the formal financial system by strengthening their access to economic resources, particularly through digital finance and microfinance. Member countries also agreed on creating a working group on empowerment of women, and many more things were included in the declaration. But these are the most important aspects which got a mention. Apart from that, there was a mention of the India Middle East Europe economic corridor. Now this corridor is being touted as a corridor to counter the China's Belt and Road Initiative. This corridor was introduced and launched at the G20. It described India, and many other countries described it as a game changing in the regional investment. The project includes India, UAE, Saudi Arabia, European Union, France, Italy, Germany and US. It is a rail and a shipping corridor, and it is a part of the Partnership for Global Infrastructure Investment, which is a collaborative effort by G7 nations to fund infrastructure projects in developing countries. Now, the Partnership for Global Infrastructure and Investment is considered to be the bloc's counter to China's Belt and Road Initiative as well. The project will aim to enable greater trade among the involved countries, including energy products, and could also be one of the most ambitious counters to China's massive infrastructure program, through which it has sought to connect more of the world to the country's economy. The corridor will include a rail as well as an electricity cable, a hydrogen pipeline, a high-speed data cable, according to the document that was prepared by the European Commission. Now, the document is also called the project as a green and a digital bridge across continents and civilization. First of all, it would increase prosperity. The major advantages of this corridor is that it will increase prosperity among the countries involved through increased flow of energy and digital communications. Second, this corridor would help deal with lack of infrastructure needed for growth in lower and middle income countries. And third, it will turn down the temperature, especially in the Middle East, which is high on turbulence and insecurity, which is coming out from the Middle East and also affects India as well. Apart from that, the G20 culminated in launching of the Global Biofuel Alliance, another feather in the hat of India after the International Solar Alliance. So this alliance is includes 19 countries and 12 global bodies that have agreed to join the alliance. The alliance is aimed at facilitating international cooperation and intensifying the use of sustainable biofuels, along with facilitating global biofuels and technical support for national biofuel programs at our very home country. The Global Biofuel Alliance, the effort for which was actually spearheaded by India, United States, Brazil, has been launched with 9 initiating members, that is India, US, Brazil, Argentina, Bangladesh, Italy, Mauritius, South Africa and the UAE, while Canada and Singapore are the observer countries. In all, 19 countries and 12 international organizations have agreed to join this Global Biofuel Alliance. 7 of the 19 countries are from the G20, 4 among the G20 invitees countries, while 8 are neither G20 countries nor invitees. The World Bank, the Asian Development Bank, the World Economic Forum, International Energy Agency, the International Energy Forum, International Research for Renewable Energy Agency, the International Civil Aviation Organizations are some of the organizations that have agreed to join the alliance. Modi ji launched the Global Biofuel Alliance in the presence of leaders of US, Brazil, UAE, Singapore, Italy, Argentina, Bangladesh and Mauritius. And the launch of the Global Biofuel Alliance is a watershed moment, especially to India in its quest towards sustainable and clean energy. Biofuels refer to renewable fuels derived from biomass like plants, agriculture, animal, domestic and industrial biowaste. Biofuels are significantly cleaner than the conventional fossil fuels. The US and Brazil, let me tell you, are the global leaders in biofuel and account for 52 to 30% of the global ethanol production respectively. For India, a country which is the third largest consumer of crude oil and depends on imports for meeting almost 85% of the requirement of the fuel, increasing use of biofuels is a key tool towards ending much of its import dependency and limiting the carbon footprint of the country, which is rapidly growing and also needs a lot of energy for that. Now, India has recently achieved also a target of 10% ethanol blending in petrol in June last year, months ahead of targeted timeline of November 2022. The success of the ethanol blended program prompted the government to advance the deadline for Pan-India E20 petrol, that is 20% blending of ethanol with petrol rollout by 2025 and 26 from 2030. According to the government, the country is well on track to achieve the E20 petrol timeline, that is blending 20% of ethanol with the petroleum, and government also has preponed the goal of achieving this from not only 2020 but to 2025 and 26, and India is now looking at blending diesel with suitable biofuels as well, and also natural gas with biogas. So these are some of the achievements, very important achievements, along with the joining of African Union as a permanent member now of the G20, and India proved that it is a global South leader. So these are some of the achievements for G20 with India. About the 18th G20 summit, where we have handed over the leadership to Brazil, and we have successfully come out with a New Delhi's declaration very promptly, also having prospective outcomes of achieving whatever is mentioned in the declaration and carrying it forward with Brazil's leadership. So I hope this information was really helpful to you all. If you did, please do like, share, subscribe, and do not forget to comment, and I shall see you in my next post. Until then, it's very happy learning.